Welcome, wrestling fans, to the PW Fan. The PW Fan is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans, and we appreciate you joining us today for episode 8. I'm your host, representing the old school wrestling fan, and your favorite barber, Tim Gilbert.
And I'm your host, the architect of pro wrestling podcast, Andy.
I'm also your host, the no-selling wrestling indie fan, Jeremy.
All right, guys, we have another great show planned for everyone today as we talk all things pro wrestling. We're going to be covering the King of the Ring tournament, the Queen's Crown tournament, Seth Rollins vs. Edge, CM Punk vs. Daniel Garcia, Ricky Starks vs. Brian Cage, a quick rundown of NXT this week, Moxley vs. Nick Gage, and Dark Side of the Ring. But first, drum roll please, gentlemen. Our shirts are now available on ProWrestlingTees.com. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com right now to get your double-sided t-shirt. We just want to say thank you very much to Pro Wrestling Tees to allowing us to be part of your website. It's so cool to be posted alongside all the other podcasts and wrestlers that we enjoy, and it's just a very neat opportunity for us. So, guys, to order a shirt, you would go to ProWrestlingTees.com/thepwfan, and the t-shirt's going to pop up right there. It comes in plenty of sizes. Choose your fabric, V-neck, tank top, whatever you want. But, yeah, it's just we're real excited to be a part of the site, and we've been waiting for this for a long time, so we wanted to make sure that we talked about it as soon as we started the show. All right, Andy, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm going to have you start us off this week. We don't have any real AEW stuff to talk about this week from as far as Dynamite goes, but we have some Rampage stuff, and we have some other things to go over. So, Andy, take us in and kind of guide the way for us.
All right, so like you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, we're going to be covering the King of the Ring tournament and the Queen's Crown tournament. Both of those tournaments began this week on Smackdown. Now, we've all know of the King of the Ring tournament in the past, but the Queen's Crown tournament is brand new. So Smackdown had, for both tournaments, they had 2 matches each, and this got them to the semifinals on their side. They had first match for the King of the Ring tournament was Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. The winner was Sami Zayn. For the Queen's Crown tournament, we had Celina Vega versus Toni Storm. Our winner was Celina Vega. Next, we had the second match for the Queen's Crown tournament. It is Carmella versus Liv Morgan, and the winner was Carmella, which I just want to say I'm very surprised that it was not Liv Morgan. I really thought they were pushing her at least a little bit. I know the fans, from what I've read online, were, pretty irritated that it wasn't her. She's been getting a lot of support from the fans. I remember watching it and the fans booing pretty loudly afterwards. So yeah, I really didn't see that coming. Lastly, for SmackDown, in the sense of the King of the Ring tournament, we had Finn Balor versus Cesaro, which I thought was a really awesome match. In the end, the winner was Finn Balor. So next week, it's looking like semifinals on the SmackDown side. You're going to have Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor, and then Carmella versus Zelina Vega.
Make a prediction?
Yeah, sure. I will say, the way for the Queen's Crown tournament for SmackDown side, I'd say the way they are pushing Carmella right now with her new mask gimmick that she wears during the match and then takes it off, I'd say that she's probably going to beat Zelina Vega. I really hope and I think that Finn Balor is going to win. I think we all talked about in our group chat is that I know he goes by the Prince, but it'd be cool to see him as the King, or maybe just say there is no King, there's just the Prince and the Prince of the Ring. So we'll have to see. What about you guys? Who do you guys see on the SmackDown side end?
Yeah, I'm going with Carmella too, because I think that they just push her because they think so highly of her. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, for Carmella, I'm not a huge fan of her. I'm actually a bigger fan of Celina, which I thought, I think we were all kind of surprised that she re-signed with WWE when she was a free agent, or she was released, right? Or cut, and then they brought her back. So I was surprised that she re-signed with them after that, but I like her better, but I know that she's not going to win because WWE loves pushing heels and making stars out of heels instead of baby faces. But on the other side, I feel like Finn Balor is going to win because that's kind of the consolation of him doing the job to Roman in the main event as the Demon as well. So then they're kind of
Playing
like,
his music in the main event.
yeah. Hopefully they don't do any more of that. They realize it's a bad idea, but I don't know. Yeah, Finn Balor for me because I think that's the trade-off for him.
Yeah, like you, Jeremy, I think Carmella will win. I mean, that just seems to be, the powers that be. They really like Carmella. I mean, she's almost always featured in some capacity. I mean, not always in a high-profile scenario, but she's on the show a lot of the time. And like even at before Becky came out, they used her as that heater spot to get the crowd excited. So yeah, I think Carmella's gonna win, and then I do like you guys said. I think on the other side they'll give Balor the crown for this, and I guess my thing is though, where do you think goes on with Sami Zayn from here? I mean, his character's had so much change, ups and downs. He's great on the mic. I mean, he is a great worker. Anybody who watches stuff in Ring of Honor, El Generico, and then even NXT stuff, but he's added so many layers to his character, especially with the interviews, and he has so much personality. Where do you guys see Sami Zayn going from here? I mean, do you think there's a possibility of maybe he goes to AEW one day? Do you think he's going to stay a WWE guy and maybe become more of a manager role? Like, where do you see Sami Zayn going from here? Just curious what your guys' thoughts are. I think he's a very talented individual.
Well, first I want to point out about this tournament is that the finals take place for both of them at Crown Jewel. So both
Sammy's not winning that. He doesn't go there.
So both of these tournaments are taking place at Crown Jewel on the same night, but the winner of Sami Zayn and Finn Balor still has to wrestle the winner of the semifinals from Raw, as well as Carmella and Celina Vega to the winners of the semifinals on Raw as well. Now, when it comes to Sami Zayn and his future, I really like Sami Zayn. I kind of laugh about his whole conspiracy gimmick. I think it's really funny. I remember Roman Reigns actually tweeted recently that, anytime you can have Sami Zayn on TV is just gold, basically. Which really surprising, to hear that from him. But I feel like he's the kind of guy that would do a lot better in AEW. I also feel like I don't know him personally, so I can't really say, but I feel like he would probably want to go there, especially if his buddy Kevin Owens is kind of eyeing it. And, I would love to see El Generico, in AEW, or maybe he just goes.
They're not the same person.
Or maybe he couldn't go. Yeah, that's right. But I don't know if WWE has a trademark on the Sami Zayn name or anything like that. But how about you guys?
Well, I'm a huge fan of him too, and I love his in-ring style. It's very fast-paced, and also I didn't know he was such a good character, I guess you would say it, or gimmick, because each one he's been in from when he started were like in NXT when he was that underdog type. And that pop that he got when he finally won the NXT title was huge. And it was like, even me at home watching it, I was like, that's like one of the very few times when I got very excited for NXT early on, at least. And then he transitioned to the main roster, and they turn him into all his different weird gimmicks, I think. But he made it work. So that's why I think if he goes outside to AEW, then I think that really fits him because that's so much more freedom, and then he can develop any character basically he wants, and I think he can really get anything over, really.
This is definitely my favorite version of him.
Yeah.
That I've seen on WWE TV. So,
yeah.
How about you, Tim?
I think he's one of those guys where really he could go either way. He might not be at the point where all he wants to do is do a Dave Meltzer 5-star match, he might be okay with doing character work and not taking bumps all the time and abusing his body. I mean, we don't know, like you said, Andy, we don't know him, and we are not I just want to make it clear because we have a lot of new listeners. In no way do any of us on the show have contact with any of these guys. We just give our opinions on what we think as fans. That's all we're saying. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think he would be good either way. If he wanted to go to AEW, he's talented enough and creative enough to do whatever he wants. But he's also another guy, kind of like I was talking about Carmella. Sami might not be in the, top spot, but I feel like he's always featured in something. Like, I feel like Sami Zayn's almost always doing something, like he's involved somehow. And
yeah, whether it's backstage or, he's always
and I
popping
think
up somewhere.
he could be a great heel manager, like a real one, a manager that takes bumps and not just like a guy that like walks down with you. Like, I think he could talk for somebody and really help them and get to another level if he ever wanted to go that route. I mean, right now.
Well, hey, he's getting into Dominic Mysterio's head lately, and so trying to tear him away from that and giving him
just
advice.
One more thing about him. Who would have thought, and I'm sure there's some people that used to watch old Ring of Honor that will understand what I'm saying. Who would have thought under the mask of a guy, the character was literally, if you guys aren't familiar, the character was a generic luchador, and he didn't talk. So now, underneath all that was this guy who is doing almost huge acting almost sometimes. It's like, man, all that was underneath there? That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a guy playing a character who never shuts up and is on 100 all the time.
Yeah, the exact opposite of what he was.
That's funny. I didn't know he didn't talk at all.
He feuded with Kevin Steen. That was a big thing. There might have been some dialogue in that. I can't remember. It's been over 10 years, but I mean, nothing like this. Like, not even in the same realm. I mean, you didn't see his face. You didn't know what he looked like, first of all. Yeah.
Moving on, I believe this was how the show ended. With Seth Rollins had a segment in the ring, and I believe the Titantron showed Edge getting out of a car and just walking from the backstage through the curtain onto the ramp. Edge comes out, he attacks Rollins. Obviously, it's from repercussions from him invading his house last week. Edge then, once Rollins runs away, after they fight for a little bit on the outside, Rollins is at the top of the ramp. Edge grabs a mic, says, he's like, "You, me, Hell in a Cell." I'm pretty sure that's happening at Crown Jewel. This match in particular, though, I'm really excited for. I can't tell you the last time I saw Edge in a Hell in a Cell, for one. But I remember I always enjoyed them. I thought they were very, very good. Rollins, I think, needs a redo on a Hell in a Cell match from his match with Bray Wyatt. So
Don't bring that up to him.
So I'm looking forward to this match. I like this feud, but I'm also hoping it's the end of the feud. This will be their third match, I believe, since SummerSlam. They had the one at Madison Square Garden after, and this will be their third one. So I'm hoping this wraps it up. I think a Hell in a Cell is a good way to wrap it up. But yeah, what do you guys think about the stipulation add to their match? What do you think about, the feud and in general?
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for this third match, which usually for WWE standards, it's once they get through to the third match, I'm really just over the feud already. But Edge and Rollins are both such great workers as well in the ring, and Edge can make any match feel really special. And Rollins, I think, is really coming into his own as this, what do they call it? A drip god? Is that his character now?
Drip god. I don't know if it's AWD.
Yeah.
But he has it written on his collar now.
I know
Yeah.
it's the point, but the laugh is just awful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know that's the point, but good lord.
Right. Yeah. And his music fits so well too. Is that it's actually pretty good. I kind of like it. But then you hear him talk out afterwards, and I'm just like, oh my god, never mind. You hate him so much.
Does that little spin and dance, flaunting his jacket and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he does it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, but so for the match itself, though, I'm excited because I don't remember when last time Edge was in that kind of match, and thinking back when he used to wrestle full time and do all his crazy matches. I kind of can't wait to see what he does for this one.
I just get nervous for Edge nowadays.
I know. Anyone who comes back like this.
I'm just like, yeah, you got to put your body and neck through Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Really? But we'll see.
Yeah, I have a list of guys who, anytime they do physical stuff, it weirds me out. Sting, Christian, Edge.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's Daniel Bryan. There's a whole list but I don't ever seem concerned about Punk, because he left because he was more beat up and mentally beat up. He didn't have and the staph infection. His wasn't like a broken neck or a concussion. I mean, he's had.
It was a broken heart.
Yeah, a little bit.
He also doesn't wrestle that kind of style either.
Yeah, it's physical, but man, some of that stuff is, those guys are crazy. But so I think that Rollins and Edge have had a good feud. The first match was okay. The second one I really liked. It was a really good match. That was a good match. And this one, I'm looking forward to being the big blow off in the cage, Hell in the Cell. This is how you do it. You know, this is old school wrestling 101. The third match is the big blow off in the cage. And this isn't a traditional cage match. And I'm going to be honest, WWE cage matches where you escape the cage are stupid anyway. Like, that's the worst stipulation ever. But
they just added a door.
Well, no one gets pinned or loses. You run away. So, I don't know. Anyway, but so they're going to have this big blow off in the cage. I really wish that these guys could get some color, you know, get a little juice, get a little blood, but I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. But these are the type of things where I'm like, man, it would add such a good layer of violence to the match if they were still allowed to do that type of thing.
Who do you guys think goes over and finish out the feud? They're 1-for-1 right now.
Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Edge too.
Because he already he took that L already.
Yeah. But I know WWE loves to do those swerves just because they're swerves.
Swerve, bro.
See, my question is, if Edge goes over, where does Rollins go from there? Because Rollins is trying to insert himself back into the title picture. If you remember, that was the whole reason why he attacked Edge pre-SummerSlam and made him lose his match at Money in the Bank. So I feel like if Rollins... I mean, I want Edge to win, but if Rollins wins, it gives him incentive to get into the title picture again. So
yeah,
we'll have to see what the Prince wants going when they're in overseas.
Well, also,
so
if he's trying to be in the title picture, and right now it's Reigns who's a heel, I don't think they would do Rollins right now. So it would be Edge going over.
True. I didn't think about that. Good point.
Unless they have Brock winning, but I highly doubt that.
God, you know what's funny about Reigns is, his whole run. It was not supposed to be this long.
Yeah.
Originally, and I've read it a long time ago, and I guess the character really got over his whole him being heel and the tribal chief stuff. I mean, we've all talked about it. We all love it. So,
which is kind of funny because before that, he was supposed to win the title earlier from Brock at I forget which WrestleMania it was, and they decided against it because everyone was still booing him. And now he's holding on to the title.
They were pushing him hard.
Yeah.
Well, I think I read that Brock is taking time off again after Crown Jewel, so it wouldn't make sense. Yeah. So, no, he'll come back for the big moments, but yeah. You guys want to move on to Rampage?
Yeah, and before we do, since we are switching from talking from a WWE show to an AEW show, I think that I just want to talk about on the show just for a second that the stuff with the online rivalry that's not even fun anymore. Like, people are starting to take this AEW versus WWE thing very seriously and saying just a lot of weird stuff, telling wrestlers that they hope that they die. And I just hope that if there's anybody listening to this show that takes this type of thing that seriously, guys, we're having fun. This is professional wrestling. We're having fun. This is not something to wish harmful things upon people or wish that their livelihood gets taken away. None of that stuff. And we support both companies. We like WWE and we like AEW. I've been a WWE fan since I was a little kid. I'm not going to just trash and bury the product and never watch it again because it's not my favorite thing right now. But I just think that we should all, I don't want to get too corny here, but I think we all should treat each other with a little bit more respect. I think some of the stuff that I see on Twitter, wrestling Twitter sometimes is the worst. It's unfortunate the stuff that you see. So let's try to all be a little nicer to each other. If you like both, like the three of us do, awesome. If you feel that loyal to one where you don't want to watch the other, that's cool. But, we don't need to say things to people that are hurtful and cruel. So I just wanted to say that because I just see it a lot, and it's on both sides. It's not one company's fan base more than the other. It's definitely on both. There's extreme fans on both sides, but just remember, guys, this is professional wrestling. We're having fun, and let's just not take this to a place where it doesn't need to be. All right, with that being said, let's get more positive because that's what we're all about. We're like being positive wrestling fans on this show. Andy, why don't you get us into Rampage, man? Take us through.
So Rampage didn't open with the match. The opening match came after an interview with Mark Henry, interviewing Daniel Garcia with 2.0 and CM Punk. But that instantly led into CM Punk versus Daniel Garcia. The winner was CM Punk. But I just want to talk about this match. I think Daniel Garcia, for one, is, another guy that's going to be the future of pro wrestling. He's really young, but the big takeaway that I got from this is that CM Punk, this guy is not, he's not even on the popular end of Hobbs or Darby. And I just find it really cool that he's giving back to the business in this way. And maybe when they can see, when the audience can see what these other guys can really do when you put him with a talent like CM Punk, I think that goes a long way, and it's just really cool to see, and I think the fans probably appreciate that too. So, but I thought the match was good also, as a whole. It's all we've said before. It's always fun to see Punk in the ring. He even talks about, is this ever gonna, the excitement go away? But for now, I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I didn't know what your guys' thoughts on it were.
I like how each match Punk kind of wrestles a different style, or at least it feels that way. Just because this match is he kind of built it around a body slam, which is insane in AEW at least.
He brought the tights back.
He did those. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I started laughing when he came out in those.
He brought the long boys back, and then Jericho on commentary said, Punk has his long boys on.
But yeah, Punk just makes simple moves like a body slam kind of feel like a big moment in the match, which is great storytelling just because you see the Young Bucks or anyone else, which is the matches I love to watch too. But Punk just makes simple moves feel so important. And then, of course, what did he do that springboard clothesline in that match? Because that kind of seemed like he doesn't have that height anymore when he jumps, and kind of just goes straight into them, which still looks fine, but it's just, you can tell that he's 42 years old now doing it.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if he did in that match. I know he did an elbow drop off the top, though.
Is it? It might have been the house match then. Yeah. I like how each guy who's in the ring with him afterwards is like, every time you see them after they wrestle CM Punk, it's like, this person now because of that. And it's like he's been in the ring with CM Punk, and so you can see the differences that they're making, and it's just crazy to see like the evolution of a person wrestling.
It's all making stars,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's real. I mean, look, I like that CM Punk has made this his mission, basically, to work with these younger guys and give them experience. And he has referenced him working with Eddie Guerrero a ton, which maybe in some ways he's kind of recreating that, except this time he's the veteran and he's teaching the younger guy. I thought the match was really good. I think, again, with the wrestling Twitter stuff, people saying that Punk is boring or Punk can't wrestle. I don't know what matches you guys are watching. I thought he did an excellent job. This was another good one. I'll just leave it at this. I thought the Punk match was really good, and I think it's cool that he's giving opportunities to younger guys and helping them build confidence in the ring and teaching them. I mean, that's awesome. Brian Danielson said he's not interested in doing it. He wants to go there to have killer matches, which so does Punk, but he seems like he also is doing this more teacher coach role.
No, I feel like what you said. I feel like Brian from afar had just been watching, like, ooh, it would be good to get in the ring with some of these guys, and he's been, since AEW, came about, has been just picturing all the matches that he could have, and it's finally, able to come to fruition.
It's funny though, because I think I saw an interview with Bryan Danielson, and he was like, I had to be different than Punk because he watched Punk's debut and watched what he said. And he was like, that's a lot of the things that I was feeling or he wanted to do. So he's like, I got to be different now. He's like, I don't want to come in here and help the young talent. He's like, I want to kick their heads in now. It's something different than what Punk is saying that he wants to help people.
Right.
So I wanted to jump over to the main event. AEW was in Philadelphia that night. And so the main event was Ricky Starks versus Brian Cage for the FTW title in a Philly street fight. The winner was Ricky Starks. First of all, I want to say, I don't know why I never put it together, but after seeing the Dark Side of the Ring about Chris Kanyon, now I can't help but see it. Or just think about it. The fact that Brian Cage, who we now know from Dark Side of the Ring, was friends with Chris Kanyon. His whole, saying that he says is who better than Brian Cage, which obviously he took from his longtime friend Chris Kanyon. Just makes me like the dude even more. I think it's really cool that it pays homage to him in that way.
I just ordered my Chris Kanyon shirt off ProWrestlingTees.com. You know what else you can get on ProWrestlingTees.com? If you go to ProWrestlingTees.com /the PW fan, you can get your t-shirt now. That's ProWrestlingTees.com /the PW fan.
And I think we've been thinking about some ideas for shirts to come later on, so stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. All right, anyway, sorry, I had to do an old school DX plug when they used to plug their own merch all the time.
Yeah.
So for this match, one, I'm hoping it's the end of their feud. Felt like they've been back and forth enough. Again, like with the Edge and Seth Rollins match, you end the feud with like something big, like a Hell in a Cell, or I don't know where they could go after the Philly street fight, and it's for the FTW title in Philly. Like that seems like a good end to their whole feud. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Ricky Starks though did get busted open during this match, I believe, from a chair shot. I mean, there was lots of weapons used, lots of just being on each other, and I'm pretty sure it was a chair shot that busted him open. But I like the match. I'm not usually not a big fan of these kind of matches when they go overboard with the violence, but it made sense when it's in Philly and you're doing something like that. So that's really all I wanted to say about it. What you guys think about it, or their feud in general?
I like the match. I'm so glad the feud is done because.
Is it though? I hope it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that because maybe there's another video package that pops up on Rampage or Dynamite. But it felt like it was like months and they didn't do anything. They were just doing those promos where they're like talking back and forth to each other, but they weren't exactly in the same room or promo, but somehow they were responding to each other. Which I kind of liked how AEW did that, but the match itself I liked. It's kind of what they wanted in Philly, the crowd wanted. And also it was kind of cool after the show, because it's kind of like after the match and everything, that they honored ECW and they brought out kind of like the legends, and Tony Khan did that whole speech. It was kind of nice. So yeah, I'm glad they did it because of those reasons.
Yeah, I based off past episodes, I'm sure some listeners could say and probably guess that this wasn't going to be my favorite match, but I actually liked it for the most part. I really thought that Brian Cage was going to go over, actually. So I was surprised that Ricky Starks won, but it was a grueling match, like as far as like from a physicality standpoint. Did you guys anybody see what happened? Did Ricky Starks hit his head on the chair and the turnbuckle and get open the hard way? Because it was coming from a spot, unless he cut into his hairline. The blood looked like it was coming from a spot up on more near the top of his head, from what I saw.
I'm trying to think, but I can't honestly remember right now.
I mean, not that it matters. It's just that had to hurt. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought it was the hard way too.
I will say, Brian Cage, for a big guy, man, that dude can move.
Oh, he can move, man.
God,
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
Ricky Starks is really good too. That's one of these younger guys I would like to see with CM Punk in the ring.
I was happy that they got to main event the show. I thought it was weird. I was like, okay, if you're again with the casual fan stuff, but if you're flipping through the channels and you're like, this is their main event of the show, you're like, who are these guys? And I don't mean that as like a disrespectful thing. I'm just talking about to the guy who only knows, John Cena and maybe CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, But I was happy for them that they got to close out the show, and I thought it was cool. What'd you guys think about Hook's run in? Send Hook.
I just laugh because all I can think about now is the Send Hook stuff. So
well, now they say it. Now they say
yeah,
it.
I know. Yeah, it's become a thing, especially when Taz is on commentary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love Rampage now because Excalibur and Taz, and they just joke the entire time.
I love Taz.
It's
He's
all
a
like
great
inside jokes.
commentator.
So moving on, we had Monday Night Raw, which also, just like SmackDown, had the beginning matches for the King of the Ring tournament as well as the Queen's Crown tournament. For the first round match for the King of the Ring tournament, we had Xavier Woods versus Ricochet. The winner was Xavier Woods. Man, I feel like he's underrated. Xavier Woods is awesome, and I remember this was a little while ago, but I think it was more towards the beginning of AJ's first run with WWE. A little after he got there, they had a really, really good match on SmackDown.
Xavier Woods can go, man. It's just with all the New Day stuff, like it kind of gets people just forget.
Well, he was always the partner when there was the three of them that wasn't in the match. He was the one on the outside all the time, but he's really good. The other King of the Ring tournament match from Monday Night Raw, though, was Kofi Kingston versus Jinder Mahal. Winner of that was Jinder. So it looks like next week on Raw we'll have Jinder versus Xavier Woods going at it to see who faces the winner of Finn Balor and Sami Zayn.
Why did you have to mention Jinder?
You know
who loves Jinder Mahal right now?
Yeah, Tim does love Jinder. I don't know why.
Jinder is king.
Anyway. So for the Queen's Crown tournament, first round matches, we had Shayna Basler versus Dana Brooke. Winner was Shayna Basler, and it seems like she's finally getting her push on the main roster. She's playing that monster right now of like snapping people's arms after matches, and I think this is the third time she's beaten someone up right after the match. I believe she beat up Dana Brooke afterwards. So
she should have been always like that.
Look, she's my pick for the tournament. I'm going early on it. I think she wins the whole Queen's Crown tournament. We'll have to wait and see, and finally for the last Queen's Crown tournament match on the show, we had Doudrop versus Natalya. Our winner was Doudrop. So next week we'll have Shayna Basler versus Doudrop. Winner of that will wrestle the winner of Carmella and Celina Vega at Crown Jewel to be crowned the winner of the Queen's Crown tournament.
Well, now that you say that, now I think that Doudrop's going to win. Because the other side is Carmella, where all things going to go through.
Dude, I can't call her Doudrop. She's Piper Niven. That's just on NXT UK for the longest time. She was Piper Niven, and then she gets paired with Ava Marie, and now I don't even know what is a Doudrop. Is that a real name? I don't know who came up with it.
I
need to talk to
one
you.
time, but I missed it. But yeah,
Vince was like, "You're gonna be Doudrop."
It's good shit, man. It's good shit.
It was a pretty good laugh, actually.
Thank you. Been working on it.
All right, guys. You want to go into NXT 2.0 this week?
Yeah, Why not? I just
Actually,
finished it.
I actually have a different opinion this week about it.
Yeah.
And
Well, hang on.
Well,
Was I right or was I right?
no. Oh, wait, about
Well,
The opening match.
the opening match, yeah. So the opening
Yeah,
match was
yeah.
Joey Gacy versus Tommaso Ciampa. And
Tore the house down.
if Gacy won, he was going to be added to the match at Halloween Havoc with Tommaso Ciampa and Braun Breaker. Now, the match was very good. This is what I realized throughout watching this entire show. It's not the wrestling I have an issue with. Because the wrestling, all the matches are actually very good. A lot better than I thought they were, especially with not extremely good, but better than I thought they were, especially with new faces. I mean, you gotta give props to Ciampa, who probably made Joey Gacy look really good. But there were some talents on the show that I liked. I don't like his gimmick, but Grayson Waller, who plays this boxer guy, but I thought he looked really good against Duke Hudson. But it's not the wrestling that's the issue. I mean, it's not the wrestling that's the issue for me. It's just the other stuff. I think there was a segment with Andre Chase University, and he drops an F-bomb, which you never see on WWE TV, but they bleeped it out. But even before, they would never do something like that. Then you have this talk show with Lashing Out with Lash Legend that I could do without, and yeah,
it's all the backstage stuff, really.
Yeah.
Or promos.
Oh, I do want to talk about there's a Mysterious Superstar debuting soon. I'm pretty sure, based off, even though it's a distorted voice, it sounds like Dakota Kai is changing gimmicks, but that's who I'm going with. Is she's going to come back as their new gimmick at Halloween Havoc.
The Ciampa match, to me, I felt like definitely was Ciampa's style match. Like, it was him calling it in the ring or whatever they planned out before. That was like him. Because I actually really enjoyed it and actually reminded me of kind of like his old matches before they did the brand switch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if it's because like now that they're doing so much more like 2.0 stuff like Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard things, but now like the arena is bothering me and like the lights and the colors.
Now it's getting
old to me. Yeah, I don't know if it's because like the rest of the show now, but now I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of bothering me how bright it is now inside.
Yeah, I mean, also with matches, I like the Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Santos Escobar, but both of those guys have been there a while, and both of those guys can put on good matches with, kind of anyone. I feel like at this point. Now we all know
it is interesting. Sorry.
I was just gonna say. Now we all know that Isaiah Swerve Scott and the rest of Hit Row are going up to SmackDown. And this was kind of his I guess, go-home match.
Yeah. I was going to say it was interesting because of all the new people they brought in or, like, debuted in NXT now, it's like when one of their music hits, there's no reaction right now because no one knows who they are.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm at home, I'm just like,
weird, like,
I guess,
Yeah, you're like, who's this? Like, and then they show the name, I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe next time.
I did want to mention, though, the main event, like we had just said, was Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Santos Escobar for the North American Championship. Scott retained, but then Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams come out. Carmella Hayes finally cashes in his contract that he won from the Breakout Tournament and is now crowned the new North American Champion, which had to happen because Scott's going up to the main roster, but I don't know if you guys ever saw this match. It was an opening match, I believe, a couple of months ago. It was Carmella Hayes versus Adam Cole. It was really, really good. I think Carmella Hayes is going to be a star in NXT, and he's one of the few newer guys that I really like, and that's because, and I said before, they slowly introduced him to you, before this change. They introduced him through things like the Breakout Tournament and, fighting with Adam Cole one time on TV. He wasn't just shoved in your face. So I've gotten used to him by now to where I see what he's about and I see how talented it is. But congratulations to him. Congratulations to Swerve to moving up to the main roster. Do you want to talk about the vibe of the show or what you were thinking before?
Yeah, Andy, the vibe of the show overall has been pretty interesting with some of the... Again, I'm not offended by any of the cursing and stuff. It's just weird that some of this stuff has just happened out of nowhere and now... And again, we said last week on the show, who is this for? Because if what I'm reading, the demographic for NXT 2 weeks ago was in the 62, 65...
Yeah, that was the average. That was the average age. It was 62 years old. Which
Yeah, they love this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's
reality shows.
unless they're trying to be hip and they think that this is, what it's supposed to be.
I don't understand. Which is weird because if Vince is coming up with this stuff and he's 70 something, so
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. But no, I just don't know who some of this stuff is for. But overall, the matches are still I'm still entertained by the matches. I like Braun Breaker. I think we've talked about how we're not super crazy about the look overall of the show, but it's just a shame because I want to keep watching it because I loved what NXT was in the old NXT, and I feel there's this part of me that doesn't want to just give up on it and stop watching it, but at the same time, it's really not the same show anymore.
I was thinking when I was watching this, I was like, where's Johnny Gargano been? He hasn't done anything except for be in the background of this the whole marriage with Index going on. I haven't seen him, his wife. I don't know what's going on with them. They were their whole gimmick and the way stuff would fit right into this NXT 2.0 stuff, but I don't really know what they're doing. Last time I think you saw him, he was on the honeymoon with them, hiding in the closet, and Dexter Lumis is giving him the thumbs up. So,
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't.
What did you guys
it feels
think
forced.
about the commentary on it? Like the commentary team itself.
I mean, that hasn't changed, has it? I mean, it's still Beth Phoenix and Wade Barrett and Josh Phillips. The name sounds right, but I completely forget. I just know it's the guy that isn't a, ex-wrestler or anything like that. I forget his name. I mean, I don't mind it. I feel like they are playing to, what they need to play to. I don't even know if they enjoy it really, but
well,
I mean,
I don't think if anybody's disliking it, I'm sure they're not saying anything,
Yeah, especially if Vince and who was it? Bruce Pritchard who's doing it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not gonna say anything then.
So I mean, I'm still gonna keep watching. They might surprise me with some of these matches again. We'll just have to wait and see. They still have some really good guys on the roster, like Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. Kyle O'Reilly is, I think, just gonna end up in a tag team with Von Wagner.
Do you think they look at Adam Cole and Bobby Fish over in AEW like pretty jealous of them?
The grass isn't always greener on the other side? I think not. I think it definitely is greener on the other side.
Well, I mean, I really like Kyle O'Reilly. So, again, I think the Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly thing is what I was talking about last week, where you have the crop of the original NXT guys and then these newer guys, and it's just like the new guys are very 80s character-driven WWF, and then the old NXT guys are kind of like...
They're just themselves.
Indie,
really.
Yeah, like the indie stars from like...
Indie.
Or that's what NXT was like the indie stars from the 2010s, but now bigger and more lights and all blah blah blah. But yeah, it's just it's a weird pairing, the two of them.
Especially when Ciampa was in the match, and it just feels weird with him, and especially was it Darcy, right?
Joey Gacy.
Gacy, that's what it is. Yeah.
I always think of the serial killer every time I see his name, just because the last name, and I can't help it. It bothers me every time.
He's making NXT safe, okay?
Dude, I feel like it's all ruse, and he's just gonna flip on the audience one day and be like, "Screw all y'all," you know, like
See,
you really want safe spaces. Like I feel like that's just he's gonna turn.
I don't know.
I don't know. He touched that guy's face and calmed him down, Harland. So
He has powers.
You know what?
Yeah, he
you
has
know what I hate
powers now.
about those gimmicks is because that's Vince's idea. Like he sees something like in the real world, like the
it's like we need him to be woke.
yeah. So he sees like kids like that, and he's like, this is who they are, and then makes it like
They
that.
can relate to this. I don't know. I mean, I'm still gonna give it more time. I'm sure you guys will too, and then we'll just have to wait and see.
I was pretty sour on the first few episodes, but I'm trying not to beat up on it because again, we've said that we don't want to do that. So I'm trying my best to just see where any of this is going.
I did want to just wrap up the NXT segment of this show with they announced three matches for the upcoming Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. And we don't have to do predictions or anything like that, but they for the women's tag team championships, it's going to be Io Shirai and Zoe Stark versus Indy Hartwell and Persia Parada, and versus JC Jane and Gigi Dolan from Toxic Attraction. Raquel Gonzalez is going to face Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's Championship in a spin the wheel, make the deal match, which I believe they did last year with Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano, if I'm not mistaken. And then our main event will most likely be Tommaso Ciampa versus Braun Breaker for the NXT Championship.
All right. Well, before we move on, so I think I briefly touched on the beginning of the show that we don't have a Dynamite to review. We'd record the show on Thursday and it drops on Friday. So last night, being Wednesday, there was no Dynamite. That Dynamite is supposed to be Saturday. So instead, over the weekend, I believe, GCW had a big show, and Moxley faced Nick Gage in a death match for the GCW championship, and it was pretty brutal, man. I'm not a big deathmatch guy, but just seeing the way that Moxley took some of those bumps into the glass, and then I think he wanted his back to get more color at some point. So then I saw it almost looked like he was purposely rubbing his back into the glass to make it bleed more. Because he was laying.
Yeah, it's like he was rolling.
Yeah, he was laying on top of it, and then I saw he was trying to dig it in more. Ugh.
He did snow angels in glass.
Are you talking about Moxley's back?
Yeah.
Is that why he looked? I saw the picture after. I mean, I did. You two watched the match. I did not. I mean,
I watched the whole match.
Not that I don't think I wanted to anyway, but yeah, I saw the picture of his back afterwards. I also saw that Renee had tweeted I absolutely hate this.
I absolutely hate this. It was brutal, Jeremy. What anything stand out from what you saw of it?
Any specific spots that you guys remember from it?
Well, I mean, I remember watching it. I was waiting to see how long either Moxley or Gage starts bleeding. It was Moxley. Was it a minute in or 2 minutes in? He went through some glass.
Yeah.
Or light tubes. That's what it was. They started off light
They
tubes.
opened the match by Nick Gage just threw a pile of light tubes into Moxley's head. That was the opening spot of the match.
Oh, so you're telling me it was nothing like Nick Gage versus Jericho?
Hey, man.
But those light tubes are the ones that always scare me the most, because that's the thing that most people get cut on the wrong way or something like that.
Well, that's what punctured David Arquette's neck
Yeah.
was a light tube when it broke around his neck from Nick Gage.
And that
And you hear him talk about it.
yeah, and that smoke, that powder that comes out of those lights, you're not supposed to inhale that. That's you're supposed to dispose of those.
Yeah, they have these things bundled together,
And in those type of promotions, it's the crowd's right there. There's no ring, apron or post around the outside of it, so the crowd can literally come up. I mean, obviously they don't, but
And those GCW fans are.
Yeah,
gnarly.
those entrances. It's it took Nick Gage 10 minutes to get to the ring.
Yeah, it was just brutal. Look, I'm gonna I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna change my tune on death match wrestling. I'm not gonna say I like death match wrestling, but I listened to Nick Gage this week on Talk Is Jericho, and you know what, man? He seems like a dude who's like a very like humble, grateful person, and he had a bad life and made or a hard life and made some mistakes, and he seems that he really loves deathmatch wrestling. Like, he has a passion for it. He doesn't want it to just, I might look at it, or like, a different old school wrestling fan might look at it as just garbage and junk. But the way he talked about it, he sees some of the violent matches and he doesn't like them. He says, "Oh, that stuff's just garbage." So then in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well then you must think that you do it in a way that's different, which it's not my type of wrestling, so I don't really have a lot of knowledge to speak on it, but he just seems like he really does have a passion for it. He doesn't seem like he's a bad guy at all, and because of that, I wanted to watch the match with him and Mox, and for what it was good. It was super violent, and I'm not going to become like a deathmatch GCW guy by any means, but I wanted to see this one because everybody was talking about it. I'm kind of.
I was surprised that Mox went over, right?
So Mox is the new GCW champion.
Well, he won it from Matt Cardona.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought he was going to drop it, because that's usually like, he wins it from Cardona, and
just
Nick Gage gets the
so
best.
just in case any GCW fans are listening, Matt Cardona is the deathmatch king.
Oh God, you're set some people up. So this feud, I mean, I know they've gone at it years and years ago, but this feud, didn't this start again from him coming to an outdoor show and invading, and then he paradigm shift Nick Gage in the middle of the ring at like some outdoor show after Nick Gage had a match? I believe it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
he walked
it was some
out.
Other match. Yeah,
and I think that's when this started
kind of
back up again.
But they showed footage of Moxley and Gage back when they first had their first, I think it was their first death match together. And Nick Gage putting that pizza cutter in Moxley's mouth and kind of just like ripping. And Moxley was like, "Did he just cut out my tongue?" And then he realized it didn't. And then it was like Moxley's like, "I got so into it then."
I think that was in the Dark Side of the Ring about that part. I think because Mox was in it. Mox was in it. I think Mox, talks about it.
Well, he was saying Nick Gage was talking about in Jericho's podcast that about the David Arquette incident, and he was saying and I don't know why I can't like not talk about Nick Gage without doing like his like the way he talks, but he's like, man, he just had to listen to me, man. He got nervous and he freaked out. He's like, you gotta stay still, man. He's like, you gotta stay still when you're in there with me. So
yeah, he was flailing around if you watch the footage. Like,
and dude, I don't think that. Look, I am not gonna. I know Nick Gage is like, I'm real. Everything I do is real. I don't think he's really stabbing the light tube in the dude's head or cutting off anybody's tongue. I'm sure that pizza cutter is dull or for the dollar store or whatever. But still, like, it's the idea that he can get so into it where you're like, holy shit, he's gonna cut off out this guy's tongue, and like people buy into it, Yeah,
he seems like a guy that really has a respect for death matches, but more notably is that he really loves his fan base. And he has a very, very loyal fan base. If you've seen the Matt Cardona stuff after their match.
Hey, MDK, all fucking day. True to the crew.
And not to mention that Mick Foley was there.
Yeah, that's right. He was in the beginning of the match.
Yeah, and then he did commentary as well. That's Nick Gage's like hero basically to him. So he went in when he was in the ring with him. He shook his hand, basically, kind of did a little bow to him.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
That was gnarly.
All right, guys, you want to finish up the show with talking about this most recent Dark Side of the Ring episode?
Yeah, let's cover it a little bit. I mean, I didn't really know much about.
I never heard of him. I mean, yeah.
So, Dark Side of the Ring this week, or I guess it was last Thursday because tonight's Thursday, was about Johnny Canine, also known as Bruiser Bedlam in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Johnny K9 was a job guy in the 80s. And then kind of when he stopped doing jobs in the WWF, he kind of reemerged, and he was super jacked up, huge. I mean, I was going to say steroids, but I don't know. I'm assuming here. But huge, super jacked up, looked totally different. Had like a Fu Manchu, like changed his whole look, where he just was terrifying looking. And he meets Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette's like, "Oh my gosh, look at this guy! I could do something with this guy in Smoky Mountain."
And he does. He does make him a star. Makes him a star.
Makes him the main heel of his company. He beats Macho Man clean in the ring at one point. Macho Man apparently said, "This is your guy, right? Well, I think he should beat me." So he does. And then after all that, I guess Cornette didn't have like anything for him at the time, so they went their separate ways. No hard feelings. Well, this guy, man, he kind of got into this life of crime, and he liked motorcycles, and I believe his brother was in a biker gang, and then he joined his own MC and became a leader of a chapter and started getting involved in some really not good stuff, which
some real like crazy biker gang shit.
Yeah, I'm talking murder, everything. Allegedly
bombing a police station was another...
Bombing a police station by accident. It was actually supposed to be a strip club. But
yeah. Somehow that got misinterpreted.
Yeah, they put it the wrong place. And yeah, I mean, apparently there was this sweet older couple. The gentleman was a lawyer, and they were murdered in their house, and that somehow was connected to the biker gang. And they're saying that he allegedly could have been there or even been the one to do it. Yeah, it was a crazy episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
What I got out of it was that this dude was in, biker gang doing, crazy shit, but everyone in the wrestling business knew a completely different side of this guy.
They thought he was like this. They thought he was terrifying looking, but like when they would see him, he
was like a teddy bear,
a big teddy bear.
Yeah, like you have Lance Storm in the documentary episode talking about it, who was with him at Smoky Mountain, as well as Chris Jericho, who was with him at Smoky Mountain. Forget the guy's name, but he is someone involved in Impact Wrestling nowadays. He was also a jobber.
Scott D'Amore.
That was like one of his good friends. Yeah, you have all these guys talking about how like nice and sweet he was, and then there was this whole other side.
He might have. I have to keep saying that. He might have killed people. Which the police in the documentary were like 100% convinced that they said he was involved with homicide at some point. So, but all the wrestling people were like, I just can't see it, And it makes you wonder, though.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really good episode. I like episodes like that, especially when I haven't really heard of the person before.
One of my favorite, it kind of, there's been 2 episodes this season that really blew me away. I got really attached to the Chris Kanyon episode, which I wasn't expecting enough to, like I said, joked around earlier. I even got a T-shirt for him, and I've never owned a piece of Kanyon merch, so that's pretty cool. And then the other one that hit me in a different way, but I just found more fascinating and almost like, oh my goodness, was this Johnny K9 one. Just because, like you said, I didn't know anything about him, and anytime you got Cornette in there telling stories, it's entertaining. And there's footage of this Johnny K9 guy hanging out like at a cookout outside with Corny and like all these Smoky Mountain guys, and they're just drinking beers and laughing and hanging out. And like meanwhile, you're like, man, this guy he might have killed people, and done some really crazy stuff.
Well, next week's episode is about Luna. Is it pronounced Vachon?
Luna Vachon.
Vachon.
That's Mad Dog Vachon, his daughter, and I believe she was with Bam Bam Bigelow at some point.
Well, I mean, one of the pictures I've always seen is her with Shawn Michaels in the ring, while he's Intercontinental Champion. But I've.
Are you sure you're not confusing her with Sherry?
No, I promise you. If you were to look her up right now, one of the first things would.
I would have to go back and.
Yeah, but I never even knew her name because I wasn't really involved in that era of wrestling as a kid. But I've seen so many pictures with her. She's the one that has like, it's like veins painted on.
Yeah, like the vein lightning bolt tattoo.
Yeah, and so, and then one day you just stop seeing stuff about her. So that's another person like this episode that I don't really know much about. And from the trailer I saw, it looks like it's going to be an intense episode. So I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, Dark Side of the. So that is, I guess that would technically make this episode tonight, right? The Celina Vachon episode.
Yep.
Yeah. So after we're done recording, I'm gonna go home and watch that. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for episode 8. When we first started this podcast, we had a goal to get past 7 episodes because apparently in podcasting, when you're starting off 7 episodes is kind of a measuring stick of
whether you'll stick with it or not.
Whether you're going to stick with it or not. And we had a goal, and we did. And I just wanted to thank you guys for all the hard work that you put into the show. And thank you for the people out there that have been listening since episode 1. And I feel like we've come a long way since episode 1. Guys, please follow us on Instagram at the PW Fan. Follow us on Twitter at the PW Fan. Follow Andy's Funko Pop collection on Instagram.
Guys, I need more likes. I need more followers.
At the 410 Fan Bros. And guys, like I said, ProWrestlingTees.com/the PW Fan. Get yourself the PW Fan shirt and stay true to our crew. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and join us next week where we talk all things wrestling. Bye-bye, everybody.